The Madness 245 here, going to do a quick movie review. I haven't done one for a while. I'm going to do a 2015 film The Walk, directed by Robert Zemeckis and starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So basically it's about this French high walker called Philippe Petit, and he has this dream that he can walk between the void of the World Trade Center towers, and obviously that's what the plot is. So yeah, so the story begins with Philippe. Philippe narrates the film, and he's standing on Statue of Liberty with the Twin Towers in the background in New York, Manhattan. Anyway, so that's how it begins. And so Philippe Petit is a small-time street performer, so he performs on the streets. He juggles, he rides a unicycle, he walks on the high wire, he juggles, as I mentioned. So yeah, that's basically what he does. And he's a really good street performer. Then one day he has to go to a dentist because he has an accident after performing. Excuse me. And he sees a picture of the Twin Towers in the magazine. It's basically talking about them being completed, and they're going to be the tallest buildings in the world once they're done. And he's fascinated by this, and he takes the article and he draws a line between the two buildings, and then that's where his fate's sealed. That's what he wants to do. That's what he wants to accomplish. Then he meets this girl called Annie, who's also a street performer, and she's a singer. And initially she wants something to do with Philippe, but then Philippe wins her around and they fall in love, and yeah, she's his love interest throughout the film. Then we meet this other guy called John Louis, I think his name is, I can't remember his name, and he's a photographer, and he takes pictures of Philippe performing, so Philippe's practicing and everything, and John Louis joins Philippe and Annie, so he's got two accomplices at this point. And then you've got this other, and then obviously he's trained, so he asks for the advice of Papa Rudy, who's played by Ben Kingsley, and he's a famous high walker. Well, he was a famous high walker. And initially, him and Philippe don't get on, but then he wins him over, and he trains Philippe up. He doesn't start off very well, so he performs on a lake, and he falls into the lake, so he doesn't get off to a good start. But then he gets better and better, and he performs in Notre Dame Cathedral. And he manages to do it as well, so he walks, so everyone below is watching what he's doing in astonishment, and he does it. So he walks along the wire, sits in the middle of the wire and everything. The police come and arrest him, and he's released. And he gets annoyed because the French media are not giving him any attention, like everywhere around the world is, except for the French newspaper. Whilst he's reading the newspaper about his story, there's an article about the Trade Center buildings. They're nearly completed, so him and Annie fly to New York to check out the buildings. And Philippe goes up to the top of the North Tower, and he looks at the void between the North and South Tower. I think it's that, unless it's the other way around, I'm not entirely sure. It might be the South Tower actually, I think it is the South Tower he walks up. But anyway, doesn't matter. And he looks at the void between both of them, and he says, it's impossible, but I'll do it. And then he balances on 1 foot. And then that's that bit done. And then he goes back to France to work out how he's going to do it. And he gets more accomplices. This guy called Jeff joins the group. And yeah, he joins the group. And they work out how they're going to do it. And then he meets this guy, also when he's in New York, he meets this guy called Barry Greenhouse, who works in the World Trade Center too, so he works in the South Tower of the World Trade Center. And Barry Greenhouse notices him straight away, and he offers to help Philippe as the inside man. So they're all thinking about how they're going to do this. They also meet a guy called JP, who works in just a normal store in New York. He's a salesman. And they all join the group. The night before they're going to do this, Philippe gets cold feet, and he's worried about if he's going to die. But Annie and him had an argument, but then he calms down and he realises he has to do this. So him and Jeff break into the South Tower, and all the others, bar Annie, JP back. The other two, I think it's John Louis and I can't remember the other guy's name. But anyway, and JP, Barry, and Annie are below between the two buildings, looking up to see what's going on. So there's a few hiccups along the way, like with the guard and everything. But they managed to do it, and they managed to get the wire across and the safety across. And Philippe starts walking between the void, and he accomplishes it. He does it 6 times, and New York, everyone in Manhattan's astonished as they're looking up at what's going on. And the police arrive, and they obviously can't get Philippe because he's on the high wire, 110 stories in the air. So if they obviously go onto the high wire, they would die. And yeah, he's just toying with the police. He does it for a little while. He goes from the North Tower to South Tower and then back. But he accomplishes it. And he's arrested and he's taken away, but he's released because the police realised what he was doing wasn't bad. They realised it was crazy what he did, but they acknowledge his bravery and courage to do something like that, and his guts. And everyone else goes back to France except for Philippe. So Annie goes back to France, John Louis goes back to France. I'm not sure what happened to Barry and JP. I'm not sure what happened to them. It's not mentioned what happens to them. But so yeah, that's a quick review on that, guys. The CGI in this film is fantastic. That's the best thing I'd say about this movie. And it just shows if you put your mind to something, the impossible can become the possible. So have a nice day, guys. I might upload a few videos, I don't know. But yeah, take care. Thank you. Bye bye.